This edition of Dolphins Today is sponsored by Kinzuri, the height-boosting shoes. Get 15% off your order by going to kinzuri.com/chat. Coming up on today's show, a bunch of injury news and notes for the Miami Dolphins. De'Von Achane, Robert Jones leading the way. Also updates and a roster move as well on Mike White, the quarterback room, and on Eric Saubert as well. We will also explore the idea of signing Bryce Callahan. But first, before we get to all of that, we are 24 subs away. That is it from 43,000 here on Dolphins Today. New host coming before the season begins, full-time dedicated for you guys. If you haven't already and you want more free Dolphins videos all season long, every day, hit that sub button right now. Mostly good news coming out of the De'Von Achane injury situation. He did suffer a shoulder injury in the second preseason game. Is mostly going to end up being okay from that perspective. Listed as week-to-week by head coach Mike McDaniel. Isn't expected to be anything serious here. I highly doubt he will play in the third and final preseason game for the Dolphins. No reason to try to rush him back from that perspective. The hope is he's back and good to go in time for week one. Week to week kind of fits in that time frame as far as I'm concerned. So on one hand, good news, the injury's minor. On the other, it is a bit disappointing to not get to see more of De'Von Achane before the regular season in theory gets going. He was electric and dynamic at Texas A&M, and we did see the occasional flash of that in the preseason so far. What I would expect we see for the third upcoming preseason game, you're not going to see Raheem Mostert. You're not going to see Jeff Wilson as your top two backs with the Miami Dolphins right now. Doubt you'll see Achane in line of the injury. Probably see a ton of Chris Brooks and a decent amount of both Salvon, Ahmed, and Myles Gaskin. I do think, even before the Achane injury news had been finalized, I do think Ahmed had cemented himself as a piece on this Dolphins active roster. He was awesome against the Texans, had that massive run, very impressed by him. Maybe Gaskin can make it a game again, a challenge again in that third preseason game, but I feel confident with Ahmed, and I am glad it's a minor injury there for De'Von Achane. More injury news and notes to come after a bit of a banged-up second preseason game there. So be honest with me. What is your concern level over these recent rash of injuries? Terron Armstead looks like he's okay, but he'll miss some practice time here. Scale this for me 1 to 10 in the comment section. 1 on the low end and 10 on the high end. All right, other more kind of newish developments here. Eric Saubert, undisclosed what was going on there. Mike didn't really specify. Maybe we'll find out soonish. He's going to miss a week or two somewhere in that range with an undisclosed injury. Tyler Kroft might be ahead of him. I was impressed by Julian Hill. Not sure Saubert makes this Dolphins 53-man roster when it's all said and done. Also of note is the Mike White injury. Now, if you watched our live watch party, I hope you guys had a good time. I made note, White got up a little bit funky, didn't look quite right, and then he left the game after Skylar Thompson was pulled because he had to get medically checked out. White played a handful of snaps, I think it was like 2 or something, did not return. We do know why. He is in the concussion protocol. Ironically, they pulled Thompson mid-series to go get checked out. He was fine, and then Mike White did not return with an actual concussion. So I doubt we see Mike White in the second preseason game. So maybe that quarterback 2 battle just remains a question mark going into the season. Thompson was really good in that second preseason game after a rough first one. Maybe they both make the roster. I doubt you see Tua play much, if at all, in the first preseason game or in the third preseason game. To help make room, juggling the roster numbers here for Mike White, James Blackman is going to re-sign with the organization. He had been released earlier in preseason/training camp, so Blackman will be back. He might play some in that third and final preseason matchup. Now, today's show is presented by Kinzuri. Fellas, have you ever wished you were just a little bit taller? Maybe you matched on Tinder, but her profile says you got to be over 6 foot. Maybe your date wants to wear heels, but you can't because it'll make her taller than you. I know it was an issue for our king Willie Fins, but we have Short Kings covered with today's sponsor, Kinzuri. They make shoes that can add up to 2.8 inches to your height without anyone knowing. So why can't men get a confidence boost from Kinzuri? We're all the same height lying down, if you know what I mean. Kinzuri shoes are not just height boosting, but also stylish and comfortable. They are not grandpa's ugly Velcro shoes, but fashionable shoes that can get a compliment even without the height increase. The height insoles are built into the shoes, making it the ultimate height hack. For a limited time only, you guys get an extra 15% off your order at kinzuri.com/chat. That's, make note, up to 45% off because site's already 30% off. Our link gets you 15% more. That's just math, baby. Support our show. Check them out at conzuri.com/chat. Life is short, but you don't have to be. Kinzuri is a game changer when it comes to your dating life. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. All right, more injury news here, and this one may be a bit more impactful than the ones you mentioned, which those guys should all be good to go by week 1. That's offensive guard Robert Jones, an MCL sprain in his right knee, according to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, who I think is the only agent with a weekly sports show that he makes an appearance on. But either way, hey, we got the info, right? Likely a 4 to 6 week injury here, and you're doing the math and go, oh, he's not back for week 1. Yeah, math isn't really mathing on that front there. What the Dolphins can do is carry Jones through roster cuts, then put him on injured reserve, and then bring him back later on in the year. If you put him on IR right now, he can't return. He's out for the year. That's why Jalen Ramsey not on IR. But you have to do that for Ramsey already. You have to do it for Jones. That makes it tough to get this numbers game balanced out of. That means you'd have to cut 2 guys you're going to bring back later on, and you don't have that many veterans who could avoid waivers, so you'd be jeopardizing losing somebody else. You could also cut Jones and put him on the practice squad, hope he gets through, but that's a dangerous game. The injuries on the offensive line are starting to mount up right now. Lester Cotton did not play last week in the preseason. He was banged up. With Jones now banged up, you've got Liam Eichenberg, who also is a bit nicked up. All of a sudden, you have one healthy starting option at left guard right now. Now, that might change in time for next week, but right now, it's kind of Isaiah Wynn by default. He was a left tackle, right tackle as well for the Patriots. Kind of fell out of favor last year in New England, but he was really good previously. So far in the preseason, I have been whelmed. I thought he was much better last week, and there were a few too many times I saw him getting a little bit overpowered against the Texans. Some bull rushes causing issues there. All these stats, by the way, are from our friends over at Pro Football Focus. I know, but no one else tracks offensive line stats. A sack, a hit, that's fine. That's actually really good for the volume of snaps so far. That's a full game plus, really. Kind of a game and a half from a snap count perspective. But that PFF run grade is not, maybe it's a game and a quarter. The run grade's not been very good. So you got to get that figured out if you are Isaiah Wynn. So what do you think? Is this the man for the left guard job? Will he take over from Liam Eichenberg and win it almost by default because of injuries to Jones and Cotton? Sound off in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. Finally, a quick note on the potentiality of signing Bryce Callahan. The Dolphins worked out Callahan late last week, kind of flew under the radar a little bit, which does tend to happen with a variety of these various moves here. He played, I will make note, under both Vic Fangio in both Denver and in Chicago. So those are 2 notable spots that he has the background, the familiarity with the Fangio defensive scheme. So in theory, a quick adjustment period if in the event he does sign. He's a veteran nickel corner option for a team, as we'll get into, a little bit thin at that particular spot. So would you guys sign Bryce Callahan? S for you'd sign him. P for you'd pass. You like your options at that nickel corner spot. Sound off for me in the comment section. Now, Callahan so far in his career began in Chicago, where Vic Fangio kind of came in late in that process. Went to Denver when Fangio went there as well. Then ended up with the Chargers, who, by the way, also run a Fangio-style defense. So it's that same quarters-based coverage there out in L.A., at least it was last year. So he knows the scheme. This is his style of defense that works really well. The issue for Callahan was he wasn't as good last season. Higher completion rate than what we'd seen previously. Not bad for kind of a backup corner. I think he is was a bit undervalued by LA, and I would have no complaints whatsoever about potentially adding Callahan to your roster. Had a bunch of interceptions, did get beat a few times as well, but those numbers are pretty impressive. I thought he played well. I'm a bit surprised he's unsigned. And I think when you look at the nickel spot in particular, with Jalen Ramsey out, you're probably going to play Kader Kohou on the outside to start most games. Your other nickel options are, can Cam Smith play it? He's mostly been an outside guy, the occasional rep on the inside there. Big Nogany's an outside corner. Apple's an outside corner. Bethel's been banged up, mainly a special teamer. Nick Needham's still on the PUP list. At this point, I doubt he's ready for week 1. I would be surprised if he came off. Hope he does and gets to play, but at this point, you're kind of getting closer to just, let him play it out there. Perry Nickerson can play nickel corner, and I thought he was going to the preseason game. Maybe you don't need him now, but you're kind of thin at that particular spot. So Callahan does make some sense, could even be a decent veteran option for your practice squad.